Glad to be back. Good to see you guys. Look forward to spending Tuesdays with you. Obviously excited about the opening day, starting the season in New York against a really tough opponent. Excited about the group that we put together after a long training camp. I thought it was a good training camp. I thought we came together nicely. Obviously, there were some cuts we had to make that that day is always tough. But I think between our roster, 53-man roster, and the practice squads, we're very excited about the group we've got, and excited to get down to game planning, which is where we're at now. And I just left the meeting. I was having great dialogue, and then Carly pulled me right out of there, and I'm here hanging out with you guys. But very excited to do this as well. So open and ready for any questions.
You just have to pull that.
Felt good pulling that shirt. Yeah.
Well, it was a nice game. Great game last night. Exciting to watch. I caught the tail end of it. Well, I was keeping track of the score, but great game. Billy-O's a great friend of mine. I worked for him. We got a great friendship. Not surprised at all that they played the way they played last night. I was excited to see it and watch it, and of course I threw my shirt on, to show pay homage and show recognition.
Ryan, what are you expecting from Daniel Jones? What he was in 22, what he was in 23, and what do you expect him now?
I mean, he's a very talented quarterback. Smart, has command of the offense, has won in this league. Athletic, the QB mobility is the thing that jumps out, and his ability to run. And I know he's dealt with some injuries, but I'm sure that's still part of his game. And his ability to kind of get the ball downfield and creating off-script plays for them. I think he's a very good player, and this will be a tough challenge for us.
Ryan, from just watching from the sideline at training camp, watching Jonathan Grenard, it looks like he has kind of a lot of tools in the toolbox. How do you just look at his myriad of pass rush moves and what that can do for him when he can do a lot of different things? Yeah,
JG's he's been a great addition. Like you said, he's been in the league for a little while now. This has been his 5th year, and he's got an array and a variety of pass rush moves. What I was not surprised because it showed up on film, but he's really got an all-around game. So setting the edge in a run game, stunt footwork. He works well with others within pass rush games, getting in gaps and making plays for other guys. He's a team guy. Got a lot of ideas. Got a lot of things that there's a lot of kind of football chatter and dialogue with him, which I like. He's been a great addition. I think I'm excited to see what that looks like this year.
The 53 settled. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on that corner group and how you feel about specifically the top 3 veteran guys you're going in with.
Yeah, I mean, we like the entire group. I'll start by saying that. Nudi's the guy that jumps to mind. I thought it was, well deserved. He certainly stepped up and made a lot of plays over the course of training camp. And to me, it's a big deal when an undrafted player makes a team. Kind of beating the odds. And, I tell all those guys, whether it's, Nudie or Taki or, Redmond, it's a little different, but, kind of in the same vein. I know I'm missing somebody and they're going to be mad at me. But, that group, I thought they did a really nice job. But Nudie specifically, played well, made some plays in preseason games. But yeah, that group beating the odds, and but that's not the end of their story. That's really the message I give to those guys. It's really just the beginning, and I'm excited to see those guys grow and develop. But as far as the entire group, from a Caleb to Fabian, to then Murph, Shaq, and Gilly. I like the group. We're still kind of coming together. There's a lot of new faces there, over the course of training camp with Fabian coming in and then Gilly coming in, Shaq going down and coming back. So there's still a little bit of, putting those pieces together and working some of the communication that happens in the back end, along with, the safety group we've got. So I'm excited about, all of them. And I think it's a solid group.
Brian, with Nudie, with Waldron, what was the process of identifying him in terms of how much of Durante's experience played a role in that happening?
Yeah, Durante's experience played a major role in it. And, I think Durante's does a great job of creating a relationship with the guys in that room, finding out what their strengths, weaknesses are, correcting or enhancing some of the things that they're weak in, and giving them those, those tips, those coaching points to help them, improve. You saw that with Nudie. I think his just history with him was certainly helpful to us, just in being able to identify his skill set in college, which, him getting his hands on the ball was kind of the one thing that jumped out on tape. But he's also, a bright football mind, I would say. Nudie is. We'll stand on the sideline and he thinks he knows every play that the offense is doing. I kind of got to tell him that's not necessarily the case. Don't yell out screen if it's not a screen. So that happened in one game. That was funny. But, I've enjoyed my time with Nudie. Yes, DJ played a major, major role in that. Really from, I remember, sitting in the draft and watching the combine. He's running, and we're going through that, through the history with him. So he definitely played a major role.
Much easier is this transition when you're starting to go from the camp and the big picture to preparing for an opponent with you having a second year with these guys. A lot of your veterans have been saying all along how much easier it is to have the continuity with you still being in the position as DC.
Yeah, there is a little bit more familiarity, a little bit more understanding of how we try to, game plan or, our plans of attack, whether it's in the run game, the pass game, the play action game, third down, red zone, et cetera. So it's not all brand new for them. So I think that's like anything. Your first year coaching is different than your second year coaching. Your, first year covering a team is different than your second year covering a team. You just have a little bit more of a, going in what the expectations are, what the standard is, and you know what to do to meet those standards. So, our guys I'm excited to work with them. I know that, there's excitement on their part, just like really everybody in the league to really get started. But to move from training camp, which is really more fundamentals, technique, communication, everybody getting on the same page, building camaraderie, you're still doing that in the regular season, and there's still a build, and you're trying to improve and get better really throughout the course of the season. But there's just a little bit more of you're more dialed in on specific opponent, specific matchups, really across the board. Who's the quarterback? Who's the receivers? Who the receivers are? Who are the tight ends? The backs, the O-line, and we got a big challenge this week. We talked about Daniel Jones. We haven't talked about these receivers, these tight ends, these backs. They got a good skill group, and they kind of revamped their O-line, and they got some good players there. So this will definitely certainly be a tough challenge. But to answer your question, as far as going from training camp to regular season, it's really more kind of dialing in on an opponent. Their strengths, our strengths, their weaknesses, our weaknesses, and trying to put a plan together that puts them in the best positions to make plays.
When you heard the duration of camp, I know obviously you're focused on defense, but to what extent were you able to see Sam Darnold, and what, if anything, jumped out to you as the way he tried to attack your defense or whatever?
Yeah, I was very impressed with Sam. There's some throws that he makes that I sit there and I'm going, man, this guy throws, he makes some legit throws. And I tell him about him too, that was, a lot of guys can fit that ball in that window. And sometimes, I tell our guys, man, somebody does that, great throw, great catch, he makes JJ makes a great catch. You got to tip your hat. I know you've heard me say that. But yeah, I think, over the course of training camp, you could see he's gotten a little bit more comfortable within the offense. He's got more command of the offense. Knows where he wants to go with the ball. Which 18 is probably a good spot to go with the ball. But just really everything, whether it's red zone, the 2-minute, to our early down, offense and the things we're trying to get accomplished there. But I think just collectively as an offensive unit, I think that's a really good group over there. O-line backs, tight ends, running backs, receivers, et cetera.
Would you tell them that like during the course of practice or off to the side, like you guys dialogue off?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, when I see a good throw on the field, that was a good throw. Hey, fellas, and sometimes that happens. But, yeah, I mean, there's dialogue outside, in the cafeteria, in the locker room, training room. So, yeah, I think I think he's done a really nice job. I really think all the quarterbacks have. And I'm excited to kind of see them, get going. I think and this really starts during the first preseason game. I mean, you're competing against our offense. So, it gets a little chippy, a little edgy out there. But really, at the end of the day, we're all one big team. And, we're rooting for, nobody's rooting harder for Sam and, the O-line, the backs, the tight ends than I am. And their teammates, on our side of the ball doing the exact same thing. And that's something we talk about really after the first preseason game. Not after, but right before, where it's, we're officially coming together. We're going against another opponent. It's one team now. It's not offense versus defense. So, yeah, we're all excited to see, those guys go out there and make some plays.
Brian, what stands out to you about that young D-line trio of Jalen, Taki, and Levi? And
Levi. It wasn't undrafted. That's why I was. Yeah.
And their ability to make an impact at maybe a position that sometimes experience is more valuable?
Can you answer that? Because I was just can you repeat that? I'm sorry, not answer it, but repeat it.
about Levi, Taki, and Jalen, and their ability to make an impact as young players at a position where sometimes experience could be more valuable?
Well, I'll start by saying, I mean, this trio of D linemen has been, I think they've done a really, really, fantastic job of coming in, learning the system. I think MD and Pat Hill have done a great job of getting those guys coached up on the techniques and the fundamentals, and then their ability to apply it, in real time, on the practice field and then in game has been, very good. You spoke to their experience. I think, the only way to get experience is to, put them out there. So, they're on the team, which means that, we feel comfortable with those guys going in and playing. Now we've got some veteran guys, so like with most guys, most young players, we try to give them a small package and let them build and grow from there. But I'd be comfortable putting any one of those guys in there. I think they've all got different skill sets. They're all a little bit different, but they all love to play. They all practice the right way. They all prepare the right way. The intangibles are really, very similar within all three guys. And I think they're, I think they all have bright futures.
Brian, big picture, when you look at kind of the last 2 months, 3 months, the whole summer, what stood out about the way Kevin has kind of led the team through everything that's happened?
Yeah, I mean, it was, obviously there was, quite a bit of adversity, and I think, KO meets adversity, head on. He doesn't run from it. He meets it head on. We talk about things. We figure out the best ways to move forward, regardless of what it is. And, when you're sitting in that chair, there's always something coming from, all over the place. I think he's done a fantastic job of leading this group, leading our team, doing what, he feels and we feel is best for the group, whether it's, giving the players a day off because they're tired, or, pushing him a little bit more because that's what we need. There was certainly a lot of that over the course of this training camp because it was a tough, kind of grueling training camp at points. And there were instances where I was kind of like, hey, maybe you want to take off a little bit on these guys. And he's like, maybe we shouldn't, And, there's been a lot of, good dialogue, but I think he's done a great job from a leadership standpoint of pushing the group, I think there's a little bit of, every once in a while you got to throw a bone. I think he's done a great job of that. And every once in a while you got to push. And I think he's done a great job of that too. And I think, up to this point, the guys are in a really good place. And they'll be rearing to go on Sunday.
Brian, I think it was back in March, Kevin talked about maybe taking some load off Harrison Smith this season. Obviously, plans can change, but what do you think about what Harrison's role is going to be in terms of him being used to being 1,000 snap per year guy? And do you still?
Yeah, 1,000 snaps sounds about right to me. I'd be very happy with that. But we'll just see how this all shakes out. He's one of those guys. It's hard to take him off. If he's standing by me, I don't really feel good about that. Maybe that's the play where he goes in there and makes the game-changing play. So it's hard to get him out. It's something I probably got to do a better job of as far as personally saying why isn't he in there. But that's just, we got to see how the games, shake. There's a plan to maybe get him out of there, a series or two, but, that same plan was in last year, and I kind of overrode all of that. So you can put it on me.
Let him rest when he's retired.
Yeah, there's plenty of time for that then.
Brian, as you're looking at week one and trying to get film on, there's no Barkley, there's a different offensive line. How far would you go back with Jones, and is there any value considering that the two defenses are so different to looking at the two games that he played against the Vikings in 22?
I think you take a look at everything. Look, I've known Brian Daboll for a long time, and he's as really as good an offensive mind and really a football mind as there is. So I think you take a look at everything. I think you take a look at 2 years ago. You take a look at last year. I think schematically there are some things that they like to do that I think are just kind of standard operating procedure for them. We'll obviously prepare that. But week one, everybody's got some new wrinkle. Everyone's got new play that they can't wait to run. I got a couple myself, and that's kind of part of the excitement of it. I think you can certainly watch too much in week one. We can watch every snap of third down from last year, but players are different. They've added some players that some guys aren't on their roster anymore. And I think every year everyone's trying to reinvent themselves anyway. So I think it really is going to boil down to fundamentals, technique, playing fast. Have a good plan, and do the best we can from there.
What role do you kind of envision for Dallas Turner? It's obviously very early, but do you have like a role in mind for?
We talk roles. We actually had that conversation yesterday. How much do we see, Tillery playing? How much do we see Dallas playing? How much do we see Ginkle playing? So yeah, I think we've got a role envisioned for Dallas. I'm not gonna give you that right now, but I think we'll see that kind of play out in game, and that changes. If he's got the hot hand, we leave him in. If it's what we expected, then we'll just keep it as we planned it out. But I think we've got a role for everybody. How we kind of envision it. Look, nobody's ready to play 100% of the snaps. Not even Harry. So you plan this, get 4 or 5 snaps off of them. If it works out, great. But more times than not, we try to execute the plan from a play time standpoint that we put on paper.
What have you learned about Dallas just in this summer with him?
Very athletic, very smart, tough. It's nothing but positives. quite honestly. I think one of the good things for him is he's in a room with, guys like Grenard, guys like Ginkle, and he's like a sponge with that group as far as, extracting information and finding ways for him to apply some of those things with his skill set. And they're great with him, they are. Dallas, you can do X, Y, Z. Go out there and do it. And normally he gets it done. So excited to see him, play on Sunday, and really excited for the entire group. Good. Thank you, guys.